Hi everyone, welcome to the second episode of blah, blah, blah. Divergent Vibes Podcast. Can't even say that. Great start. And I am joined today by Sarah, first guest on the show,
Mm.
first in-person guest that I've interviewed. So that's exciting. So I don't know, before we dive into whatever we're going to talk about today, if you want to sort of say anything that you want to say to introduce yourself.
Yeah, of course. My name is Sarah. I have ADHD. I'm also dyslexic as well. So got a little combination going on there. Um, what to say? I'm from Bristol.
Oh.
Not originally, but I live in Bristol. And that's a complete lie. I live in Nailsea, outside of Bristol. Let's be honest and truthful. Don't live in Bristol. Um, And yeah, about 6 months ago, I left corporate world and set up my own consultancy. Following, I suppose, I've had my ADHD diagnosis maybe for about 18 months now. And that
Mm,
was one of the kind of pivotal reasons as to I'm gonna work for myself.
yeah.
So yeah, that's a bit about me.
Yeah, thank you. When I was just talking to myself last time, I realized about halfway through, I was like, oh, I haven't actually introduced myself. So try and make sure we start with that so people know who we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I already have questions about things that you've said,
Mm.
but the whole idea of the show is that you have like a topic, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and then we just talk about it. So I don't know what it is what you want
Yeah,
to talk
exactly.
about today.
Surprise.
Surprise topic.
I was thinking about it on the drive in actually, and I was thinking it would be lovely to talk about working with neurodiversity. So thinking
Mm,
about your strengths and like the ways that I've kind of adapted and changed since I've had that diagnosis and kind of how I'm leaning into it rather than working against it, which is what I have been doing for the majority of my life, right?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's like a really great topic to get into because
Mhm.
I don't know how you found it with your diagnosis, but like ho so much of the system is that like deficits model. Like, what can't you do and what are you really rubbish at?
Yeah,
And let's talk about all of that. And that's really nice and feels great, doesn't it?
exactly.
And then you're like, okay, now
What do I do with that?
what do I do with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely felt sort of reflecting back on having the diagnosis, and I actually remember after the session I had with the psychotherapist analyst person, I remember filming a little TikTok
Okay.
because I was like, I feel like I just need to capture how
Mm.
I'm feeling. And it was not the feeling I was expecting to
Mm.
feel. It was, I guess I was expecting more like joy and more, finally, there's like something that, a label I can attach to the reason why I am what I am or how I am. But actually, I came away from it thinking, has she got it right? Is she sure? Is she
Mm.
sure about this? Um, and a lot of confusion, a lot of frustration. I guess the frustration coming from, why wasn't it picked up sooner? Why have I got to the age? I was 38 when I was diagnosed. Like, why has it taken this long? And I suppose I'm not sure what word to use, like like feeling upset, I guess, about
Mm.
the fact that maybe life could have been easier if I'd have known sooner. And I think you're right in terms of the model and the diagnostic criteria. It's so focused on the negative because obviously they're looking for the ways that it impacts your life and makes things harder for you because that's how
Yeah.
they diagnose. But actually, all that did for me is, I had a few chats with other people that had been through it before, and I've kind of prepared notes, and you have to do all those massive forms, which are not good for people with ADHD. Um, and all of that was putting in negatives, all the things I'm finding hard, I struggle with, and
Yeah.
highlighting all of those things and bringing them up to the surface into my mind. So yeah, leaving the conversation, all I was thinking about is how crap everything is. And
Yeah.
it took a while to then work out, like get out of that kind of
Yeah.
way of thinking.
Yeah. I think it's such a common experience for people, which is really shit, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's like my special interest now in like my research and stuff to go, maybe we could do this better and understand like all that the complex emotions that it brings up and what you're kind of left feeling when you're like, oh, this is everything
Yeah.
shit that I can't do and like difficult.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really narrow view of it because you know we have a neurodivergent support group that we're doing, and we were doing this profiling exercise to really try and sort of step away from the labels and think, let's understand like who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had all these different domains, so like visual processing or verbal reasoning or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're trying to get people to think about, well, how much of a strength is that or a thing. And actually on so many of them it was like, well, sometimes it's a strength and sometimes it's a challenge.
Yeah.
And it varies depending on the situation, or it can kind of go both ways. So I think even just that strength and challenges is quite a binary that doesn't really exist.
Yeah, 100%. Because there's so much environment, situation, other people, so many different inputs that kind of alter that for you. And like I particularly find when I'm stressed or overwhelmed, which unfortunately happens quite a lot for me, the binary way of thinking kicks in a lot more, and everything becomes either incredibly hard or this is really fun and exciting and I want to do it. I find it difficult when I'm more stressed and overwhelmed to see the nuance and see the in between bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you find then if you've got stuff that you're like, well, it's not really difficult, but it's also not fun. It's just like necessary.
Yeah.
That it's really hard to be like, oh, I should do laundry or I should do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of the shame comes for me as well, that those kind of things, because there's always, pre-diagnosis, it was like, why can't I just do this? Like everyone else does this. Everybody else cleans their house weekly. I don't know, maybe more, depending on who the person is. Why do I only clean the house when someone's coming to visit? And then obviously you get the diagnosis and you're like, okay, now I understand why that happens. And it's the pressure, it's the many different things. Words have just disappeared from my brain, but then it kind of makes sense and you're like, okay, I'm not just a shit human. Like there's a reason why, like my brain needs a different type of motivation to make me want to do those things.
Yeah, I always find like it's hard, isn't it, to put yourself in someone else's brain. And I remember a previous partner who just seemed to have like this internal clock of like, oh, it's laundry time, or and I was like, when you start to run out of clean underwear, you're like, oh, maybe we should do some laundry, and like got this extensive wardrobe, and it's like just everywhere. And, like, it's like how do you just know it's time to do laundry?
Yeah.
What is that?
Exactly. It's bizarre. I actually posted, so I have a TikTok account and I was scrolling this morning as you do. And it shows you like what you posted this time last year and that kind of thing. And 2 years ago, on this very day, I posted a video of myself cleaning the wardrobe and changing the wardrobe, which then turned into rearranging all the furniture in the room and, as it kind of escalates. And it got me thinking this morning, I've got the diagnosis now, but things haven't changed. I still have a wardrobe.
Oh, it's gonna
and well, it's more of a chair robe now. Okay. Yeah, I've upgraded. So and the reason for that is I've moved into a house that needs a lot of renovation work. So the carpets are really gross. So I don't want to put it on the floor. Yeah. But it's still there.
Yeah. There's so much of those things of like, oh, so it's now not on the floor because the carpet's not great, or I need to clean up because people are coming over, and it's those external things that kind of give that push often to like, oh yeah, all right, I'll do that thing that just needs to happen. But
one of my sisters is very opposite to me in terms of she's incredibly house proud, and she is one of those people that probably cleans every day actually, but then she's got a kid running around the house as well, so you kind of, I suppose there's different levels of cleanliness that need to be taken into account. But whenever she comes over to my house, I'm absolutely paranoid and I will like frantically sort everything, because Yeah, and I suppose that's where the shame bit kicks in, right? The kind of how I'm perceived by other people, and I don't want to be perceived as I'm not dirty, but I would, people
Yeah.
might be like, "Oh, your house is dirty." It's not dirty, it's just chaotic.
Yeah, I say cluttered. No, it's just
Cluttered. Yeah,
cluttered.
exactly.
But I wonder if this is that thinking about how we can use our strengths, although this maybe not a
Mm.
strength, but just like how we are. That I've started now once a month having nacho night, mine because I love
Ooh,
nachos.
nice.
It's a well-known thing in my friend group there. It's it's that kind of like, going out can be expensive and actually it's in my own space. I'll provide nachos and then people can come over and they can bring whatever they want. I'm very clear, I will only provide nachos. The
Yeah.
toppings, like if you want a drink, you want to you bring it. And so that's nice because then it's like once a month there's like a social thing, but it's sort of more manageable. I get to have nachos either way, even if
Hmm.
someone comes or not.
Great.
But also there is monthly because that once like people are
Yeah.
coming over. So I have to tidy and so I think that like knowing lots of these things about myself means that I've kind of created something that actually has this function as well as just being a nice time
Yeah.
and nachos, which
Winning, winning.
winning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been experimenting with like different like loaded
Ooh.
options.
What's your
So
favorite?
well I've been making like a slow cooker chili
Oh, nice.
and it's got sneaky veg in, so it's like healthy.
Hmm.
I have a friend that comes who's vegetarian sometimes. So sometimes I make a veggie chili,
Hmm.
sometimes I make a non-veggie chili. She's not coming. But it has loads of extra veg in. And so then you're like, this is a healthy meal because it's
Yeah.
got loads of stuff in.
But then you add the cheese on top,
Oh,
right?
loads of cheese.
Yeah.
Loads of cheese. And all the stuff. But yeah, that's and I had been just we're going tangent on nachos. We've like been like doing the nachos, putting the chili on top, but then the nachos go a bit soggy, and so
Mhm.
now doing more like just cheesy nachos, and then having the chili, so you can kind of just
Yeah, add to.
yeah, and
Yeah.
add it so
Because
there's
you don't
different.
want soggy.
No,
And I mean, that moves into like a whole other sensory kind of conversation we could have
mm,
about, textures and things.
yeah,
But yeah, sticking to the systems, great system.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I've tried a few different things to lean into. After my diagnosis, I had some ADHD coaching, and I also went to a couple of, I think it was ADHD UK, do a lot of kind of free
mm,
webinars you can go to, and there were a couple for like post-diagnosis, which were really useful actually. Um, but it got me thinking about, yeah, what are the, I suppose, hacks or
hmm,
systems that you can put into place to kind of support your brain, work with the brain as opposed to
yeah,
against it. And one of the things that I thought about, I've not yet done it, but it's been on my mind for probably about 6 years, is
hmm,
cleaning is not, I find it difficult, right? Other people absolutely love it. Why not get a cleaner? There
yeah,
is absolutely no shame in outsourcing things in your
yeah,
life that you find difficult.
yeah,
And one day when my business is a success and I'm not
yeah,
kind of surviving off redundancy pay, that is something I want to do because it just takes away that pressure and stress because I think there's an underlying, even though my brain hasn't kicked in to say motivate, clean,
mm,
there is still this underlying kind of, oh, the house needs to be cleaned with that little voice in your head that's constant and it drains so much energy.
yeah,
So that's kind of one thing. It's a hack I've not put into place, but it's in the works. But actually, one thing that did work really well was like gamifying
mm,
cleaning. And I haven't done it for a while, but when I wanted to, so I moved house last year. And in the run up to that, I needed to do like a deep clean and I needed to declutter and like organize and pack and all of
mm,
those horrible tasks. Um, and I thought, how can I turn this into a game? So I wrote down on like post-it notes and like bits of paper, like all the things I needed to do. Bright colours because I'm quite a visual creature. Folded them all up and put them into a jar. And then
mm.
every day I just picked one out and was like, that's what I'm doing today. And it worked for about a month. And then, yeah,
Yeah.
Um, but the thing that worked really well was that, yes, there was a list of maybe 25 things I needed to do. And when I wrote the list, I didn't want to do any of them. But turning it into a game and being
Mm.
like, oh, surprise, which one's it going to be today?
Yeah.
And kind of having that visual thing.
Mm.
Um, and at the time, I was quite like sharing a lot on TikTok as well. So I was then filming kind of like which one I picked out. So there was some
Yeah.
accountability kind of being thrown in. And yeah, turning it into a game kind of helped. But yeah, the consistency of that kind of dropped off.
Yeah. Consistency is I love that idea. And we've got on our mantelpiece, we've got these two kind of jars
Mm.
with little pieces of paper in, not for cleaning. One is for like date night or like meals out, although some of them are like takeaway fast food and some are like fancy nights out. So you don't know if you the first one I put out was like the ivy. So that was really nice.
Nice.
Amazing sourdough. That was like our favorite bit of this like sourdough and like anyway, very food focused.
No, but what the Ivy's in Clifton
Yeah,
Village.
Clifton.
Yeah, nice.
The most recent one was Taco Bell, so we just got like a whole mix, and it's fun because then you're like, that's where we're gonna go, and that will be fun, or we're gonna order in. And we also have one for like date days of like activities to do. Although we're probably not that great at going to look that cheap one out, but it's like trying to remember that they're there. But I don't know if it will work with cleaning each week, being like, oh, like what's
Yeah.
this week's task?
I'm not, maybe not with just your standard cleaning, but I
Mm.
think with some of these things, it was like everyone has junk drawers, right? Or like drawers with where you put important things and they go there to die, right? And I probably have more. I think most people have one in their kitchen. I probably have at least one in every room in the house. And so some of the tasks was like sort out the hallway junk drawer,
Yeah.
like those kind of things. So um yeah, I'm not sure how it would. I've never tried it with just Hoover, white
Hoover.
surfaces,
Yeah.
clean toilet. I've not tried it in that way,
Yeah.
but it'd be interesting to see
How
how
would
it
you,
works.
if you were like, um, I'm gonna do one task every day or something, and so you're
Mm.
like, these are the however many tasks, and over like 2 weeks, say, I'm gonna do everything. And then like, well, what's today? But then you might be like, I've got not much time, and I've got like the most time-consuming
Yeah,
job. But I think consistency is something I've been thinking about more recently because I think there is this idea that consistency is like, I am going to do the same thing the same way, like all the time, and that's what consistency looks like.
mm.
But I wonder if it should be or kind of is maybe for neurodivergent individuals like more flexible that I can have like because like particularly with ADHD, I think that novelty is really important and the kind of because otherwise it's like doesn't exist after
Yeah,
a month or
exactly.
I think
Yeah.
that's very
It's
good.
driven by interest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a month is a good amount of time for it to stick around.
Yeah. I
Um
think the TikTok accountability helped because I
yeah.
did have a couple of followers that were like, "Have you done your thing for the day?" And I'm like,
Oh
"Oh
no.
no."
Yeah. But I wonder if it, I thought about it like I've been trying to have more time trying to connect to myself and like
Mm.
things that I know can be quite helpful for me personally, but also people say so. There's a lot of research that is like exercise and like mindfulness and yoga and meditation. And I do enjoy those things, but sometimes I'm just like
Yeah.
not done them. And then I went the other way where I was like every morning for a couple of weeks, I was like, I'm gonna do all the things. I'm gonna do everything. And so I had this whole like hour and a half. And it was nice and chill, but then it was like, that's too much. I don't have enough time. And it's like
Mm.
maybe I can do one of those things, like that kind of like what do I feel like today? Or what do I
Yeah.
pick today?
On
And
a rotation.
they're all in that sort of area, that theme,
Mm.
but they're different. So there is that element of novelty. I don't get stuck in and I'm not trying to do everything. And maybe that's consistency to be like, I'm doing something in this area, but it changes what it is,
Yeah.
but it's still consistent.
Exactly. And I think it's important to, I suppose, reframe what the word consistency means for you as an individual, because
Mm.
we all have different understandings of what it means. But I think there's I guess, a social construct in terms of
Yes.
consistency means every day. But actually, for neurodivergent brains, for a lot of us, that is not the case. I mean,
Mm.
depending on what the neurodivergent condition is, like, maybe some are more structured and organized.
Yeah.
But particularly for me, it's not. But then it's also about then not beating yourself up for not doing
Yeah.
the consistent things and reminding yourself that there probably are a few things in your life that you are consistent at, but maybe because you don't do them every day, you don't associate that with consistency.
Mm.
It's like one thing I do every single month is I have a budget that I work out. So I work out how much income I'm getting. I've got a lovely little spreadsheet. It's very colourful. There's a theme here with visuals. Um, and that is something I do every single month. The day before payday is open that spreadsheet, go through it, plot kind of what I need to
Mm.
do. I'm a a bit of a cash lover. So I kind of work out how much cash do I need to get out of the cash machine, and then I
Mm.
kind of split my cash up so that I don't spend it all on one thing, and I kind of separate it into like weeks of the month so that
Mm.
I know I've got things. And that is something I do consistently, and I've been doing for, I want to say 3 years,
Wow.
every single month.
Mm.
Um, and yes, sometimes it feels a bit like a chore, but I do it.
Mm.
And there's definitely some pride, I guess, in that. And maybe that's what consistency is for me. That's my, there are some things that are more important and more interesting, which is driving my brain. But I
Mm.
can be consistent, just maybe not in the way that society thinks we should be consistent.
Mm. Yeah. Do you find that that helps with um the kind of, I don't know if the right word is like discipline, maybe, or impulsivity, maybe, of that, like, I've got money, I'm gonna just use it,
Yeah,
that actually, if I want this thing and actually I've used this envelope of money, then I don't have money.
yeah, it was born from that. It was
Mm.
born from getting myself into a lot of credit card debt. And it was then about finding a system that worked for me, and
Mm.
the cash thing worked because it was tangible.
Yeah.
Um, I was very good at like tapping cards and not necessarily associating the tap with
Yeah.
physical money. So that's
Yeah.
kind of what it was born from, to try and control the impulse spending, because it did go, particularly during COVID, when a little crazy. I lived by myself. The only joy I had was when the postman arrived with a parcel. So there was a lot of online shopping happening.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just thinking about, oh, credit cards could be a whole other thing that and it's like that psychologically what happens, because when credit card companies, and they're like, oh, you're spending money and you're paying us back, so like, would you like more?
Mm,
And then in my head I'm like, I got some money, and it's like, no, then it's not
it's
real
it's a
money.
lie.
That you're like, money, I've got money, and then there is something that's like, sorry, I should spend this,
Yeah,
but actually it's not, it's not
yeah,
money, and it's quite an easy but dangerous path.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's I talked a lot about this because I hyper focused on paying down the debt. So I paid it off in, I think it was about £13,000 I paid off in 22 months,
Wow.
which was, yeah, intense, completely changed my lifestyle and everything. But it was very much like hyper focus, I'm gonna do this sort of thing,
Mm.
which is a great strength of ADHD when channeled in the right way.
Yes.
Um, and I've completely lost my train of thought for where I was going with this. Classic.
Mm.
Um,
Credit cards, debt,
debt,
psychological.
systems. Don't know, it's gone. I
Maybe.
mean, it's an authentic chat about ADHD, right?
May- maybe it'll come back.
Yeah.
Um, or not.
When
You'll
I
remember.
when I listen back to
Yeah.
the episode, and I'll be like, damn it,
Yeah.
that's what I was
And
gonna
then you can
say.
TikTok about it and be like, guess what? This is what I was gonna say.
Failed.
What was I gonna say? Yeah, how, like, what was that like, that 13 months of, because that sounds
22 months.
22 months, I
Yeah.
got the numbers the wrong way around. Because there was a
Yeah.
13,000, 22 months, because I am at the start of that journey. Maybe
Oh,
I've
okay,
not
yeah,
yet hyper
yeah,
focused, but I have gone down that slippery slope of credit cards. And I
yeah.
think it's a mix, I don't know if you did this, you kind of like, why did I do this? What's going on? And I think there is a mix of life stuff that
Hmm.
is just difficult and expensive,
Yeah.
um
And ADHD
and
perks.
and impulsivity, and I'm a very emotional eater and emotional spender.
Hmm.
This is a whole load of psychological work for me to keep doing there.
Mm.
Um and so sometimes then there is that shame that comes up. I don't know if you experience this, of like, how have I got in such a
Yeah.
mess? And sometimes it can feel overwhelming. It's like, well, how do I get out of this? How do I fix this?
Yeah.
And actually, I've a couple of times in my life have got through. I've done like a debt management plan where I've gone
Mm.
like, actually, first time I was like, I actually can't afford this. The second time I was like, this is stretching things, and actually maybe it's a sensible thing to do. I'm not. I don't really want to do that again, but it's that kind of thing. I have got out of this situation before,
Mm.
but now it's like, how do I get out of this? So I'm really curious about the kind of hyper focus and what those 22 months were like of
Yeah.
really kind of locking in and
Yeah, I think it was born out of if I keep doing this, I will never be able to move house. I will never be able to do all of these lovely things that I want to do in the future. Um, and it was also definitely driven by shame.
mm,
Now I talk about it a lot. I've been on the radio. I was in some national newspapers talking about the journey that I went through because now I think to break shame, if you can hear other people do like going through the similar things as you, that kind of helps. Like
mhm,
you don't feel as alone in those situations. But I very much did feel alone. And it was before the ADHD diagnosis as well. So I knew I've always called myself a shopaholic. I knew that I was an impulse spender, but didn't necessarily know that it was, there was something in my
mm,
brain that was driving it, right? Um, I think the first thing that drove it was that realization of like, this isn't sustainable and I can't keep
mm,
doing it. And then what kicked in was I'm very creative and I'm a problem solver
mm,
and I very much like to fix problems. And so that then kicked in and it
mhm,
was like, okay, now that we've decided it's a problem, how
mhm,
do we fix the problem? And I think that's what kickstarted the hyperfocus side of things. I think I get very excited when I can see a solution and
mm,
then I'm like, I want to attack that solution and I want to do it. So I think that's how I channeled the hyper
yeah,
focus kind of thing. And then it was about finding a system and kind of going back to what we were talking about with the cleaning thing. For me, the system was being more visual, making it fun, like all of the
mm,
things I talked about with cleaning. And from that born a lot of kind of other things. I ended up opening an Etsy shop and actually selling some of the tools that I'd created for myself, like the
mm,
tangible products that helped me with like I made pretty envelopes so that when I was separating cash out into like food shopping or
mm.
social money, I put them into these really pretty little envelopes. Um, and then yeah, side ADHD side quest turned up and I then had an Etsy shop that went along with it. But um
Mm,
yeah, and then I channeled the accountability. So I realized there was a problem. I wanted to solve the problem. Hyperfocus kicked in. How do I find a creative solution? Once I found the creative solution, it then kept the motivation going because it was fun to do it. And then the accountability piece was I opened a TikTok and I started sharing with people what I
mm,
was doing. And to start with, I went really granular. I used to do a weekly video I'd have my diary out and I would write in everything I spent that week. And then I would color code it based
mm,
on what category it was coming from. And then I would kind of tally up my spending. And then at the end of the month, I would like kind of do like a month debrief. Did I stay in budget? Did I stay out of
mm.
budget? And what I found was I was then getting a lot of encouragement. So the accountability kind of tool that I'd created turned into a lovely community of other people who were then supporting me and asking me questions and how have you
Mm.
done that? And then I think that kicked into my one of my strengths, which is wanting to support other people and add value to other people's lives. And
Mm.
so the hyper focus kind of stayed because I was getting a great reward from
Yeah.
it as well. And I think that's how I maintained it for such a long
Mm.
time.
Yeah, and it's uh amazing that, but also you can see all these different parts to kind of keep something going. It's not just I
Mm,
decided to do this thing and then I did it. It's that finding that motivation and then kind of channeling things and then finding like the reward. And so like colorful stuff in itself is quite like nice,
yeah.
isn't it? And then actually when you mean kind of the accountability has a function, but then also it becomes this reward,
Mm,
which then becomes motivating as well. And so it is that kind of that cycle,
yeah.
but so many parts to kind of figure
Mm.
out to make this system
Yeah.
work.
Becomes like this whole kind of like holistic ecosystem.
Mm.
And it was organic. I didn't set out with like a plan of I need all these moving parts to help with the consistency, but it kind of just grew. And I guess the great thing about it is then, from a strengths point of view, is like that worked for that situation. How can I then use the lessons I learned from that and apply it to other aspects of my life which are challenging?
Yeah. If you were to summarize the kind of, I don't know, 1 to 3, I don't know how many are lessons that you got from that for us, what would they be?
What would they be? I think you need to connect with your why, which sounds really cheesy, but
Why?
I mean, I do leadership development as well, so I talk about good old Simon Sinek a lot, but yeah, I think you need to connect with the why and the purpose and like the value, because I think doing something just for the sake of doing it isn't enough for me in particular, and potentially other people with an ADHD style brain. So yeah, finding that deeper connection to why you're doing it. Then I think there's an element of understanding the systems and tools that work for you, and having, like, I know in coaching and therapy and things, you talk about having a toolbox or a toolkit of things, but yeah, building that toolkit of, I guess, transferable things as well. They're not just specifically for the one situation. You can use them in different situations, but yeah, maybe having 3, 4 things that you know work really well for you and know that you can kind of pull them out when you need them. So yeah, the purpose, the toolkit. And then I think there's a mindset piece in this in terms of talking, whether that's therapy, coaching, counseling, talking to your friends, like whatever, talking to random strangers on TikTok, like whatever that is. For me, I'm a massive verbal processor. So yeah, having a way to process. Yeah. Purpose, tools, processing.
Yeah. I'm also a verbal processor, so I kind of got stuck on that last one. I was stuck on all of them, and then I was like, "That's not enough," because I've realized I sometimes talk to myself. That's not one. Talk to myself and like process and unpack stuff. And when I'm trying to write something, I can really like overthink or really be like, "What am I doing?" And so actually sometimes I'll talk it out loud, audio record, transcribe kind of thing, because it just kind of flows more verbally, or I can make sense of it. And when it's just on paper, I'm like,
Yeah.
you know,
I can't talk to myself. I will sometimes talk to the cats. They don't respond, which is a shame, but I kind of pretend that they do. I can talk to TikTok, so I can talk when I know there's going to be an audience, which is quite egotistical of me, I suppose, in a way, but there we go. But one thing I've been leaning into more recently, whether this is right or wrong, and I'm sure there's lots of ethical debate and discussion about it, is I talk to my AI.
Okay.
So when I'm in those situations where I need to do something and I'm not sure where to start, or there's like blank piece of paper issues, I've started training my AI. So I pay for one, yeah, just for like privacy and all that kind of stuff. And it remembers things about me as well, which is really freaky sometimes. But I kind of talk to it as a person, and I do type, but you can do like voice notes as well. So just like have a chat with it, because I can't always, afford to speak to a coach every week as much as I would absolutely love to. And I think it's really important and powerful. Budgets don't allow for those kind of things. So yeah, I kind of have but started kind of leaning into that. And I think it's a really interesting tool for verbal processors.
Yeah. I think it's for like that all that executive functioning stuff of organizing, and I've sometimes gone blah, 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 here are all the things I need to do, and it will organize them. Okay, here you go. And for recipes and meal planning and stuff, it's great because you can go like, I've got this stuff in the house, like what can I make with this? Or I want to make this, or mine remembers if there are foods that I like or don't like, or kind of what goals I've got. So got sort of had low iron, low vitamin D. So sometimes you're like, well, there's a health thing going on that I want to sort of make sure I'm, doing this or eating enough of this. And so we'll tweak stuff. We're like, oh, I don't have that flour, but I've got this stuff. Like, how do I? And it will adapt recipes, and like all the recipes are giving me great. Meal planning, and then it'll go like this one you should cook and like batch cook, and just the organization is amazing. And then I had some of like my favorite meals, like I love as well as nachos. Ramen.
Oh, you're
Very
about to say
food.
nachos.
Oh,
Oh my God, I love ramen.
I love
I think that's
ramen.
my favorite
Yeah.
meal.
And I'd got this Korean cookbook, and then I'd tried this belly pork ramen. That is the only recipe I've cooked from that cookbook because it's so good. I just use that one. Actually, I made like a tofu thing at one point, but I've always made that same one, and it's with the shin ramen, like hot and spicy noodles, which are amazing, but
Nice.
just like don't look at the nutritional information because it's just.
Mhm.
And so I was like, actually, it's really nice, it's really comforting, but nutritionally not great.
Yes.
So what I did is I said, this is how I normally make my ramen. Can you make this a bit more, bit
Yeah, what
better?
could I add to it to
Yeah,
make it?
and so now I have a new ramen recipe, which now is the one that I make because it's got like a really, it like layers up the flavors to still get the spice. It's really rich.
Yeah.
I tend to go with like steak rather than belly pork now most of the time. So it's
For the iron.
yeah, and it's got like other stuff that it adds in, but it's just great. You can go, I like it like this. And I guess here, if someone's got like a sensory food thing, and actually, if like, sometimes brands change their stuff and it just go, this is what I like, this is what I like about it. Like, what can I do
Yeah.
to change that or recreate it? So I think for those kind of things, and that helping to organize the thoughts, organize ideas, know where to start. I think it's really great for that.
It's another great system because one of the things that I realized through the debt journey, because I was being very I suppose, conscientious with the way I was spending money was I eat the same thing over and over again. But I think a lot of us do that. And I was shocked at how much food I was wasting on the basis of forgetting it's in the fridge. Because when that fridge is shut, forgotten that it's there.
Yeah.
And maybe buying stuff thinking it's for a specific meal and then having leftover and not knowing what to do with it. And so yeah, that I didn't actually use AI for it when I was kind of doing it, but reflecting,
Yeah.
like you could see, telling AI this is what's left in the fridge fresh wise. Like what
Yeah.
could I do with it? Like I've got stuff in the food cupboard. Like what could I do to kind of support this?
Tried to do that more because we don't like wasting food, but it happens sometimes. And I'm very particular of like it is past the date. I can't eat it.
Oh, okay. I'm a smell person. If it
Yeah,
smells all right, I'm all right.
I think it depends what the thing is. So actually, this is a big step for me. Uh, I had cheese and mushroom omelette yesterday, the other day, and the mushrooms were one day after their best before. I did Google it first. It was okay. And it told you what to look for. And I was like, okay, and it was fine. But it's one of my like rigid kind of things that, and there are some things that it's not okay, you can check. But I tend to be like, no, it's
You
not.
don't want to mess around with chicken and milk, right?
Yeah, like those kind of things. But and like with some vegetables, it's like, and some of them they don't even have the things now. But so it's some of my own stuff. So we have to be really careful of or I feel that we have to of like when we're using it so we don't waste loads of stuff.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's helpful for that. And then we try batch cooking, and I think also there's a sensory thing with that because some things if you freeze them and defrost, then it changes. And there are some things I just can't eat from mushrooms, again from frozen, because
they do go a bit odd, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love a frozen shepherd's pie. I used to bulk cook shepherd's pie or cottage pie so much. But now I've moved into this new place. The kitchen is horrendous. It's kind of the first thing I want to renovate, but will probably be the last thing I renovate because of how much it's going to cost. So yeah, I just basically use an air fryer for everything these days, which is fine. What you were saying was making me think of like another system. So like leaning back into the toolkit and things with food. Because I identified that when the fridge is shut, is it object permanence or something like that? Yeah. It just disappears. I and I sold these on my Etsy shop for a period of time. I created a fun, visual, pretty, laminated kind of food chart that was on the front of the fridge. And it had within it, it kind of had space for a shopping list, and then it had like your breakfast, lunch, dinner. And I would plan what I thought I was going to eat, but I would kind of leave enough room for spontaneity. And then that would give me the shopping list, which then helped with the budgeting because it was like I'm only buying things I need and I'm not getting swayed by the offers or going into a shop when you're hungry and just like grabbing everything. You never shop when you're hungry if you have ADHD. And yeah, so I guess it's another kind of system tool to utilize. Like I know I'm visual.
Yeah.
That yeah.
And I wonder, like, so when you were talking, I was thinking about with children, like the visual timetables that are often used with children and maybe generally with children, but I was thinking particularly about autistic children that I've worked with, and that it's really powerful to be able to kind of see. And so then it's interesting then as adults, and it's that kind of like, oh, I'm visual, so this is helpful, then selling on Etsy. That sometimes when it's things like that, there can almost be that shame of like, well, no, this is a thing for children, or this is a thing for these kind of people, and I'm not that kind of people or whatever. But did you find that there was any of that, or were you able to just...
I didn't, because it was what I needed to do. And I know that I'm a visual person, so I have I like doing vision boards and mood boards and things like that. So I just leaned into it. But I do hear what you're saying, and I definitely do think there is an element of shame with that, because there's kind of that battle of, why do I need this? Like other people can do it and they don't have to do this. Why do I need to do this? And I think that's for me where the kind of shame comes from. But having my community on TikTok and having other people buy things from the Etsy shop, I think helped change my opinion on that, because it was like, actually other people, particularly in the videos, because I would do videos of me like planning the food and then like writing the shopping list. And other people would be commenting saying this is such a good idea. You know, it's great you can keep your food budgets down because you're using this, and like you're not wasting as much food. And I think the outcome of using it overweighs the shame of needing to use it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about when we spoke about strengths right at the start, which I think we are talking about in it's just
it's woven.
It's woven through. I think there is something about the self-understanding, the self-acceptance of being able to go, this is how my mind works. And maybe take out that value of what's good or bad or strength, because just this is kind of how it is. This is how my mind works. And actually there are some things that then, you know, I need this because it's helpful. And then there are some things that I can just do, and I can be like so creative and whatever, and maybe some people can't do that. And that this is just me. And supporting what needs supporting, etc. And just because that's maybe different to kind of other people. Because I think a lot of the things we talked about, like the hacks and things, it's kind of going, this is how I work. And if I work with someone with coaching, it is that trying to figure out, make it just more conscious, like this is how my brain works. So how can I use that?
To leverage.
To help me.
Yeah, definitely. I think as I've got older, I've become less worried about what other people think of me. It's something I've battled with my entire life, and I always have this kind of underlying, I'm not good enough, stupid little thing going on in my head. But I think as I've got older, and as I've had the diagnosis, and as I've explored more things, and one of the parts of the job that I do is I'm trained in personality profiling, so I use psychometrics. And I think the combination of all of those things has really helped me step back from caring about what other people think about the way that I approach my life and the way that I live my life, and leaning more into, this works for me. I should not feel ashamed for needing this support or these tools, because it's making my life easier and it's making me happy. But I think it's a big growth thing. And I think if I hadn't of maybe had some ADHD coaching or just general coaching in life, or maybe done some psychometrics and learnt more about myself, I don't know whether I would be where I am now. I think there's so much power in self-awareness.
Yeah.
That really supports us to then feel comfortable with changing the way that we approach life, essentially.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's very philosophical, isn't it?
Oh. It feels like I have absolutely no idea what the time is, but it feels like it's one of those. Yeah. Well, we've got like potentially 13 minutes, but I sort of it was like one of those like, oh, this could be like such a great ending. But it's like, well, I don't no sense of time. And now we've gone past that.
I know. But we could summarize and still kind of like end on a high.
We can, yeah. So maybe we can do like a wind down, something. Of I guess thinking about strengths, or just anything we talked about, whether you've got anything that you're like, oh, I really haven't said this that feels important to say, or whether that thing has come back that's in your mind. Yeah.
No, that thing hasn't come back. It did come back. And then we kept talking. And then I got very fixated on the idea of, after recording this, going to get some ramen. So then it went again. No. Do you know what? When you air the episode, if it comes to me, I'll put it in the comments.
Yes,
because just in case anyone out there is like, what on earth was she gonna say?
It's the thing. What was the thing? Where are you gonna go for ramen?
Oh, so I don't know if you know, but a Uniqlo shop has just opened up in Cabot Circus.
Yeah.
And I don't often get to go to them, and I really love their clothes. So I'm going to head on down to Cabot Circus. So potentially Wagamama's, but there's a couple of really nice ramen places in like around Corn Street in Bristol as well.
Nice.
Can't remember what they're called, but yeah, we'll see. The sun is shining, so it's one of those days where I have no plans. And like, talking of strengths, I know that I need to be flexible and spontaneous because that makes me happy. And so leaning into not scheduling weekends and not feeling pressure to have planned activities and working with that is something that's come out of, I guess, my self-awareness and understanding of who I am as a person. Go with the flow, because that's going to give me so much more joy, and it's going to recharge me. Like, when you get to the end of a working week, I think you've been, I suppose, flexing, and we can't always live playing to our strengths all the time. There are things that we're not good at that we have to do. But it's nice to then give yourself the freedom, and I try at least to have one day every weekend where there are no plans, so I can do what I need to do. And sometimes that is, I spend the entire day in my pajamas watching whatever I'm watching on Netflix. And sometimes that's, the impulse of like, I want to go to the garden centre, or I want to be, the sun's out, I want to do this, I want to do that. So yeah, kind of lean, I guess one of the kind of key takeaways is lean into it and work with the way that you are as a person. Don't restrict yourself.
And I think what I've learned is, I think I've got autistic and ADHD traits, and sometimes one or the other is more prominent.
Present, yeah.
And so I need some space and novelty and freedom, but I also, if I don't have enough structure, that's really unsettling. And in case you didn't realize, food is a real thing for me. But actually, meals is a real structure. It gives me like a real grounding in my day. So it's often saying like, what am I going to eat today? And to know, and it's part of a routine. And so I find that it changes like which one I need, whether I need routine or whether I need that freedom. And so sometimes that can be, difficult to kind of know where to go.
Which way to lean.
And I've now been like, I didn't know what I was gonna have for dinner tonight, but now I think it's gonna be ramen.
Yeah, I think we're both having ramen today.
Ramen today. So if you're listening to this, maybe consider ramen for dinner tonight. It's gonna be curious when I have more guests on whether food
maybe on the
comes
show
up.
notes you need to put like, or if you do an intro at the beginning, be like, make sure you've made your ramen, sit down and listen to us talk.
Have ramen with us. I'm just curious whether episodes how many times food's going to come up, because we definitely talked about it quite a bit today as well. But also like loads of really great stuff I think that we sort of talked like around strengths and like hacking and like
Mm.
understanding how your mind works and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's felt like a really,
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed it. It's been great.
Good.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and I think if there's one thing to take away from it, it's kind of like, don't be afraid to be unapologetically you.
Mm.
Um, you're going to, or I feel so much happier since leaning into doing what I need to do to be my best me, which sounds really cheesy. Um, and I talk in my sort of practice, so I do coaching, not specifically for ADHD people, but I tend to attract them because of my lived experience, right?
Mm.
But I talk about being a square peg in a round hole. And we're conditioned, I think, so much to try to fit into said round hole. Like with, in corporate land, we work 9 to 5. We
Mm.
have lunch breaks at set times. When we approach a project, we have certain steps we have to follow, and we have deadlines, and we have all of these things. And yes, they're important to an extent because we all have bills to pay and we all need to get paid from our jobs. But how can you lean into your square pegness and change the round hole? Because there are ways around it. There are ways around, you know, I was never a 9 to 5 person. I struggle in the mornings.
Mm.
And through conversations and accommodations, reasonable adjustments because of the diagnosis, which is obviously very helpful. But you don't need a diagnosis, right, to ask for a reasonable adjustment. Um, I was able to flex my working hours and I work 10 till 6.
Yeah.
And that just works so much better for me. And I think, yeah, it's about leaning into doing what's right for you because you're then going to be happier, but also the person you're working for is going to get much more productive time out of you, right? You're less likely to burn out or get overwhelmed because you're working with your brain and not against it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's such an important, I'm really glad that we talked about this topic. It's such,
Mm.
it's so important. It's something I do a keynote at networking about neurodiversity in the workplace.
Mm.
And I've tried to take a step out of just neurodivergence and labels, just talk generally. And some of the big takeaways, spoiler, is that all our brains are different. Actually, if we can really lean into understanding it, and actually the way that the world of work is set up and what it kind of demands in terms of the executive functioning and the social skills and the like all this thing, no one can do that all the time.
Mm.
And I think for neurodivergent individuals, we maybe see it more of the struggles. But if you've got someone who has a heart attack at like 50 because they're so stressed, like, are they coping with it really?
Yeah.
Or if people find that they're drinking more, eating certain things to kind of get through,
Yeah.
is that what we want? And so actually, I think this is where we're maybe like at the front of going, like, actually, no, we need to recognize how we work and we need to make shifts, but actually it's one of those things that pro for everyone is helpful,
Yeah.
to do.
Equality over equity. Is that the right way around? Equity over equality. Brain. Equity. See, one of them means that we have accommodations so that we can do things.
Mhm.
So that may be that, like at I know we're at the theatre and we can't see, so we give people on the second row booster seats, so they're all slightly higher. However, the other one, which I think might be equity, is within that row there's a child, there's someone who's very tall, and actually the tall person can see. So it's just the child and maybe the shorter person that need the booster seats. So it's about applying the right accommodation or the right support to the right person rather than treating everyone the same.
I'm thinking of like an image of that, and there is another one which I think for your example does not work, but which I'll explain. But which is about that kind of, I guess it's more like a social justice kind of thing of going like, what if we get rid of the barrier so everyone can see? But in a theatre, in the second seat, maybe it's fine. But like if you're up on like the higher ones, if you're in the barrier, you've got like a different risk. But that idea of like actually we're sort of accommodating and trying to like adjust. Actually, there are some things in the world of work or in the social expectations that maybe are the problem.
Yeah.
Oh, so like rebellious today.
I
Like,
know, right? Hell for justice.
Hmm.
Maybe that was what I was going to go back to in the point that I forgot, which was you were talking about money and debt and credit cards and how when you're in that cycle of paying off your debt, the credit card company will then offer you more and all that kind of stuff. And there's a social justice thing for me that's not just for people with ADHD, but why can't we select something with our bank that says, I don't want to receive letters about increasing my credit limit. I don't want to hear about offers because actually, for some of us, and particularly when I was in that place, I was extending the credit limits and I was thinking, oh, free money. But actually, on reflection, the prompts that I was getting from them was having an impact on my behavior.
Yeah.
And why is there not a way to be able, we can opt out of marketing, but why can't we opt out like of those kind of things?
So
We possibly can.
you can. We've got,
but maybe it's difficult.
I've got one credit card certainly that you have that option to say don't offer me a credit increase. But I think it's like one of these things that you have to know it's there and you have to look for it.
Yeah.
It's not like an easy default of like we won't offer it unless you want us to or whatever or you ask for it. Or so I think it's that it may be possible for some of them, but difficult to kind of find.
Because as you know, my brain, that's not going to be something that I'm gonna, life admin is tricky. So that's not going to be something that I think about doing. And then you get the letter and then you have the thought in your head that goes, I need to opt out of this, but then something else happens and that thought is forgotten until the next month.
And then you're like, oh. I have a final thought that Keith has. It's not really relevant to anything, but it just popped up many times since you've been here, which is I love this green.
Thank you.
And it keeps going like, oh, it's such a great color. So just share that one as well. That's one of my like recurring thoughts I have today.
I mean, I've talked about being a visual creature, like clothing's important, and I will say I was late, I arrived late, which is a classic ADHD thing. The reason being that I think the floor drape has increased because I tried on so many different outfits because I was like, I want to look good. But this is a go-to shirt. This is a shirt that when I'm not sure what to wear, if I know that I can put it on and I feel great and look great in it. So
it's great.
Thank you.
Yeah. See, the effort was worth it because it's been noticed. And it's video. This is new. When I had a previous podcast, it was all audio, and then I was kind of like, oh, there are so many visual podcasts. Oh, and people are visual, and so
and I'm a massive YouTube person.
Yeah. This will be on YouTube and Spotify and other podcast places, probably start of May. So like in a couple of weeks. So it's not going to be a massive turnaround for people to eat ramen. And,
exactly.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to prompt them in social media posts.
Ramen.
Eat ramen whilst listening. Do it.
Oh, that could be a whole thing of going like, what's the themed food for your episode? What food are we? That's maybe at some point if we get a bit like more high tech. I've got two thoughts at the same time because I was like, we could like eat food at the same time, and then it's also the sensory and the sound of eating food, so maybe not. But
because people do, they're called like mukbangs, mukbangs. I can't remember what they're called, but I've watched some YouTubers who will basically get McDonald's. Other brands are out there, and they will eat whilst answering questions and stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mukbang.
Yeah. Maybe something.
Maybe that could be a thing. Or we can get like sponsorship. Be like, hey, ramen. Or just food of choice. But thank you so much, Sarah, for coming in today. I've really enjoyed it, and I think there's like really great stuff that we've talked about for people, and also I hope people have enjoyed listening as well, or watching, or
listening and watching at the same time.
No, I'm just gonna watch. They're just like doing this, and it's all
Well, I'm off to go get some ramen now, so
enjoy. Ants. Do it later. Oh, look.
Check us
Look
out.
at that timing for me saying like we're not gonna be on time. We're on it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Bye everyone.